clothes off. Caught the nigga that I like to doze off. Pop the seal, I'ma doze off. These niggas be mugging, they so hard. If I empty the clip, they'll soften up. Look, boy, I don't know y'all. Yeah. I don't even know her. Bitch, hopped in my whip, took her clothes off. Caught the nigga that I like to doze off. Pop the seal, I'ma doze off. These niggas be mugging, they so hard. If I empty the clip, they'll soften up. Look, boy, I don't know y'all. Look, boy, I don't know y'all. Had me tripping, so I tied up my shoelace. Bitch, I came a long way.
All right, y'all. Tune back in to the Zen Room, episode 3. How's everybody? Thanksgiving and holidays. I hope everybody was good. Mine was good. I got another special guest today, Cynthia Ambrose.
Okay.
How we say it?
Ambroise.
Sorry, Cynthia Ambrose. I like the Ambrose.
Yes, there you go.
Ambrose. So Cynthia is the founder and CEO of Fluid Hydration and Wellness. Tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I am a former ER nurse, emergency room nurse, and I am currently working and practicing in the capacity of an adult gerontology primary care nurse practitioner. I founded the company about 1.5 years ago, and the goal of the company is really to manage chronic diseases on an outpatient basis, and then just really take care of people holistically, which has evolved into medical weight management, an aesthetic aspect of the business that's also developed where I do cosmetic injectables, and we can talk a little bit more about that.
Right.
As well as women's health.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Vaginal rejuvenation.
Yes.
Rejuvenation, things like that.
Vaginal rejuvenation.
Yes.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the vaginal rejuvenation.
So vaginal rejuvenation is all encompassing for women who have had either large births, so babies that are greater than 9 pounds, who have had multiple births, and some traumatic births as well. What we tend to experience at some time or another, especially if we're in our early to mid 30s, we'll have vaginal laxity.
Yes.
So what tends to happen is if we cough, if we're playing with our kids, if we're bouncing, on something, right? Sometimes we'll have some urine leakage. So that really falls under stress incontinence, urge incontinence. Sometimes, so that's an aspect of that where we can treat with vaginal rejuvenation.
Okay.
Also with vaginal wall laxity.
Yes.
Right? So we're talking about
this is for you females that ain't got no walls. Cynthia's not gonna say that, but I am.
Oh, wow,
the bitches with lack of walls.
Right, wow. Okay. So, right, from a clinical standpoint, right?
That's non-clinical standpoint.
Right.
That's the Zen Room standpoint.
But so really, when you're talking about being with someone or with someone new too, right? Because we have experiences where either something has happened with our previous relationship, we're with someone new, maybe we're with someone who isn't as large or the same size as someone we were with previously, right? And so
same size as in penis, right?
Right, penis size, right? So not being able to have that same grip that we had previously, it could have been due to the birth, right? It could have been due to the change of the penis size that we're now, engaging.
So quick question. So is that true when they say the vaginal is sculpted towards the man's penis? Sometimes, not all the time, but you know how sometimes they could tell the difference or something. How accurate is that?
So a female could tell the difference, but a male could tell the difference as well, right? So if he's with someone who, let's just say, has vaginal wall laxity, right, looseness, right, he may be
no walls,
right. We may need to do something about that. And I'm giving full disclosure. I've experienced it myself and gotten it done because I wanted to know what it felt like. And also what my clients would experience as well. And it does work, right? And I personally didn't necessarily have an issue with that.
Right.
But then to see how it works, and it does.
It works.
It does work.
Okay, and so how does that help in the sexual life, in the sexual world?
I'll talk a little bit about how it actually works. So with the machine itself, it's like a probe where you use for vaginal ultrasounds, where for women who've had vaginal ultrasounds in the past, and it's essentially like a rod, and it turns about 370 degrees. And as it's turning, it's emitting a high-frequency ultrasound or You could use radio frequency as well, because I have a machine now that also emits radio frequency.
Okay.
And what it does is control damage of your vaginal wall, and it causes the rebuilding of that lining.
So new collagen.
Elasticity,
Okay.
right? So then we're tightening as that new scaffolding or structure is being built, right? Now we're getting that firmness.
So
and
it's
that tightness.
damaged on purpose to build a new surface.
Yes,
Okay.
control damage.
Okay.
And then it's also the light is emitted at different depths, right? Because we don't want just superficial tissue to be, to be grown, right?
Right.
We want it to be a little bit deeper than that, and to really get, and then of course we want long-term success as well, right? But that's it's amazing and it does work. But back to your question about what was the question? Because I wanted to just give a background about how it actually.
So in the sexual terms, like how does it? Because you said that it definitely works. So we know that it tightens up. Does it bring more pleasure for the female or the male?
Yes.
Okay.
And
the male?
Yeah, it does, right? So a couple of things, because it also helps with lubrication. And in addition to that, that tightness, right? So you have more friction when one is having intercourse, so more pleasurable for the male, and then also for the female. And it also causes for the female to have more sensitivity.
Okay.
Right? So those orgasms or the climax is more intense.
More intense.
As well.
Because it's basically brand new all over again.
Yes.
Okay.
And then when we're talking about that too, what it does is because of that light that's being emitted or that frequency, it also is able to help with that stress incontinence, right? When we're talking about the bottom of the bladder and tightening that. One of the ways that we could do that, right, for individuals who aren't quite ready or for whatever reason, it's not something they're exploring yet, they could do Kegels.
Okay.
Right? But the thing about Kegels is that we're not consistent with that.
Right.
Right? I mean, we could do Kegels right now.
Right. I'm doing mine now.
Right? Hold it for 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
And then let it go, right?
Okay.
But do we remember to do that?
Exactly. No, we
Right?
don't.
That's the problem.
You'll stay there for like the first 10 seconds, maybe 20.
Yeah.
But after that, you'd be like, okay.
Right, that's it.
What am I
So
doing?
if we could do that 3 times a day, in series of 3, at least 3 times a day, like we're rebuilding, like with any other muscle, right? We're working that muscle, right, to tighten up that bottom part of the bladder, right? But we're just not consistent with that. So this is a way to address several concerns: the laxity, the tightness, the firmness as well, right? And then also that stress incontinence. And just the moisture. So
Okay. So moisture, that's cool too.
because some women
Experience dryness.
Yes. Some of us, it's for various reasons, whether it's hormonal changes that may or may not be related to menopause.
Right.
Some, like I had one of my clients who was recovering from having treatment for cancer, right? And that was one of the things that she experienced. I have someone else where she had multiple births, and that was the reason for. I love how Simon is like shaking his head. He's like, right.
He's listening
He's
okay.
right.
Let me see. I got noted.
And the great thing is, I actually have a gentleman who, because my husband had a conversation with him, and that's the great thing too, is right. It allows us to have certain conversations that we typically wouldn't have. Right? Because I find it really interesting, whether we're married, whether we're just dating, or we're just having casual sex, that these are conversations that we're not having with the people that we're intimate with.
Right.
And it's a problem. Sometimes relationships don't survive because we're not having
addressing the conversation. So you're sitting having sex with someone and you're not really getting pleasured, or he's not really being pleasured, but nobody's having that conversation. Nobody's saying anything.
Which is fair, right? Because maybe you don't want to hurt someone's feelings, right? And thinking about where we are in the relationship, what that person might be going through, there might be very valid reasons why we're not having these discussions, but not when, the problem in the relationship is really the sex life, right? So we should have those conversations, because that could be something that we could address that, ultimately helps the relationship.
Exactly. Right? Because if you're not comfortable then, or you're not being pleasured, then the first thought of someone's mind is to go somewhere else and find the pleasure into that. And now the relationship is broken because now there's infidelity, especially if it's a long-term relationship. Now, if you just out fucking somebody, then that's a different story. Yeah, of course you probably won't just come out and have that conversation. But if you're really intimate with someone, like a serious dating or marriage, I feel like that is a conversation that you should have. Like people not realizing, and I know that we've had a conversation before where you told me one of your clients came up and was like speaking to you about her, expressing to you about her feelings and things that was going on in the bedroom with her and her husband, and you asked her, did she have that conversation with her husband? And she was like, no.
And it's just like, whoa, like, how do we know what we're measuring, right? What is improving if we're not even having the conversation? And one of the things that it was really interesting with one of my clients is how she climaxed much quicker than her significant other did. But then, of course, after you've climaxed, right, what tends to happen? I just
love Cynthia, y'all. She using all the correct terms and climax, and I'm over here thinking like, oh, she ain't tell her nigga she couldn't come. Oh, okay. I'm just running in.
Look, that's after a couple of drinks.
She's very. I'm trying to keep up, but in my head, I'm like, oh, translation. I don't want to be sound like the ghetto bird over here.
But no, because really, this is how I have to talk to people. Or sometimes too, right? Even in talking like this, gives people the opportunity to find other words to talk to their significant other, because it's such a sensitive topic that where we might have some really raw discussions and use some terms that under normal circumstances would be okay, but when that person is the subject of that conversation,
you have to
be a little bit more
down. Right? Yeah, you got to downplay it a little bit, because you don't know how that person's going to react. And of course, you're never going to want to go into the conversation with actually hurting someone or making someone feel some type of way. I mean, because I know is when I'm at a stress peak of my life, I don't want to have sex. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to be touched or anything. I'm tired. I want to relax. And then I don't want to feel like sex is a chore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes in a relationship, especially if you've been with someone for a significant amount of time, you guys get accustomed to one another, movement. So then sex becomes like a chore. And I don't want that in my relationship. So it's like sometimes I'm like, all right, let's take a break. Let's sit back. Okay, babe, I'm tired. It's not that I don't love you or I'm not into you or I don't want to have sex, and vice versa to him, because he has a lot going on too sometimes. So sometimes like our sex life could be up here and then it'll come to a plateau, but then life, it is life, and then it's not meaning like he's out having sex with somebody else or I'm out having sex with somebody else or I'm not feeling sexual or intimate with him or vice versa. It's because we both have a lot going on. So in my personal life, I sit and have that conversation with my husband. We have that conversation, and it's usually one of the conversations that we have at night in the bed together. And it's like, you know what, babe? It's not that this, or he'll say, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm tired. I'm like, shit, me too. And we both like, all right, let's fist bump. All right, we going to bed, cuddle, cradle me, and I'm cool with that. But I mean, but like you said, sometimes people don't know how to have that conversation.
And normalizing the conversation.
Exactly, because it is normal. It should be. It shouldn't be something to hide, because then ultimately, now you don't feel comfortable with speaking up on that. And so now you're looking for it somewhere else, possibly. Or the other person is, because they're not comfortable with speaking up on it.
Sometimes people just don't do anything at all. Okay, and just suffer in their relationships like that, male and female, right? Where, I've had clients where they've shared that their significant other just jerks off, right? To ejaculate. I mean, that, or their job then becomes...
She said jerk off, y'all. Ding, ding, ding.
The other thing is, right, the female, then her job becomes more that she's, performing, oral sex on him, right?
She's giving him head.
Right. Or blowjobs, right?
Or blowjobs.
Right? But so, and that's not, and then a person doesn't want to feel like that's their job, right? And that's the only way that they can satisfy someone. Right. And that's where things start to come up, where feelings, whether it's things from their past, right? Just things, it just...
Because it is trauma. It can be trauma in a relationship with sexual, like you in your past, you've experienced some things that you may have not liked with that sexual partner, but that person doesn't know that. And then he brings that, introduces, or she to him or her, vice versa. And then it's like, freezing up because you didn't, but you have to have that conversation to let that person know what's going on.
Right. You are so
right. I definitely understand that part.
And realizing too, what I'm realizing for me through this journey, the types of questions to ask people, because I'll have someone come in and, they have a form that they fill out and, gives me an idea of, what the concern is, what the pattern is. And then that's for me to start asking very specific questions. And I remember early on, it was just like, okay, things like, what are you experiencing? Are you climaxing? Are you not climaxing? How long is it lasting? Is it that you're not, getting aroused, right? Even in asking what I thought were really poignant questions, I was really surprised with one of my clients on her fourth session, and typically it's about 3 sessions, right? But again, it varies because, how many births did you have?
Right.
How large of, were each of your deliveries, right? And in this particular case, it was really, there was some change at the third session. So we're talking about, so they're about 3 to 4 weeks apart. So we're having this discussion 3 weeks from the last session.
Okay.
And it's like, the discussion is like, oh yeah, there's a difference. And one of the things that this particular person said was, I don't have to essentially do a Kegel during intercourse. So you're tightening up and firming to provide a grip while intercourse. And she said at that time that what she noticed was that she didn't have to do that. See, but that's a measurable difference, right? It's not quantitative, right? So it's not something that, even though when you get the service, right, there are things that I have to measure, like internal pressure and things like that. But that is something qualitatively that she can measure. Like, the difference was I did not have
you didn't have to do that.
Because imagine, so you think about, we just, did a Kegel that we cannot,
right.
No one knows what that feels like, right? You can't show that. But how long you can hold that. That contraction can only last for but so long.
Right.
But thinking about that, you're supposed to be intimate, and that is what you're
and you have to concentrate on holding that grip for that person.
So what that brought to just that sexual experience for her and the husband, right? And that she's noticing that he's not lasting as long. Right? Which is great, because before, she's already had an orgasm, and he's still going. He's still going because he doesn't have that friction. Right? So that also solves the problem about, now he has the friction and he's ultimately able to climax. I mean, it's just amazing.
It is. It sounds amazing. Yeah, and I feel like I want to go and have it done just to try some shit out. And I have walls.
Look, and that's the thing. And to be totally honest, when I got it done, it wasn't with the expectation. It was just like, let's see.
Well, yeah, because as a professional, when we both do things on people, we always want to try it before we perform it on another person, if it see fit.
Right.
So I get that as far as trying it out, and it's good that you're able to do that.
Yeah. And it was wonderful. It was just like, oh my goodness, like it, and it's great because for me, then I'm really able to. It's not just me knowing, yes, from a professional standpoint that this works, but then also being kind of like the hair loss, right, bossy. Like, I'm not only the president, like I'm the client, right? I always receive hair replacement, so I can speak from that standpoint, right? That, yes, I know this is what it felt like, and this is what to expect. So that was really great for me to experience, and then really to share,
to tell a person exactly what it feels like, because you experienced it. Now, does it hurt? Is it painful, or is it just a little uncomfortable?
So
how does it feel?
It's a little bit uncomfortable initially when you're in the vaginal canal, not so much, but as you get closer to the coitus, right, or right to the opening of the vaginal area, that skin is really thin and sensitive, so you do feel it. But I have the ability, and I'm constantly talking to you throughout the process, just checking to see, because this is the probe, remember, is turning right at a quarter-inch intervals, and as it's turning, there's that emission of that frequency. So I'm checking and saying, how do you feel? And there's a particular area where I do, for the most part, most individuals could say that they feel it. Now, that's where the threshold for each individual is a little bit different. For pain, because one person might be like, yeah, I feel it, but no, you can keep going. Where someone else is just like, oh, no, no, right? And based on how it's okay, it's all right, hold up, I'm feeling it, right? Right. That allows me to really just at the press of a button from that handle, pause and I can adjust it. Tools, right? How much heat, or how much frequency is being emitted.
So, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then the recovery is pretty simple. You're going to go about 3 days without having intercourse, right? Because you want to allow, just like with any tissue injury, right? If you get a cut,
want it to be rebuilt.
You're not doing anything in that area, right? You want to allow it to heal, and then you try it out, and then we see how that's how that works at first initial intercourse, right? Then over the next several weeks, hopefully a person is active. Because I've had people who've gotten it done and they'll come back for the second session. It's just like, well, how did it go? How many times? Oh man, I've been so busy. I'm like, you were 3 weeks. So, so sometimes the conversation is about, well, really, while we're doing this, what are the other things that's going on? How come we're not having intercourse, which that's happened too.
Right.
We have some really serious discussions.
Especially if they're not telling a person, because I know you said it's the clients that don't even tell their husband they're even doing this. And it's like, how are you doing a procedure like this without telling your significant other?
Yeah. And it's nice to not tell, and then here it's a surprise. That is not much of an issue as the concern about how long have you been going through this and going through this by yourself. That's really the thing that really gets me, and just having those lines of communication be open, because intimacy is really important.
It is.
Right?
It
is.
People
check out, and sometimes intimacy doesn't necessarily have to be, actual intercourse.
Right.
Just be someone touching you,
like
you said, when we close off because of whatever else is going on externally, right? We sometimes don't want that person to even touch you, and then you add this additional layer that when we do get close or we get intimate, I'm not being satisfied. Right. Then resentment starts to ensue, and it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Right? So hopefully, with having these discussions, I've done a couple of IG lives with people. One particular individual, she's a doula and works with, and also her thing is really women's health. And that was a great platform too, because the DMs that I got from that was really great, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, yes, we can talk about this. There shouldn't be any shame.
Yeah, because as one of them, I know, because I see a lot of clients on my bed as well. I'm not guiding them in the health aspect, but we have conversations. And a lot appear to come up on the topic while I have my clients on the bed is vaginal health. Like a lot of people are battling vaginal vaginosis, bacterial vaginosis, or bacterial infections and things like that. And they're uncomfortable because they get on the bed and they're open, they're getting waxed. So it's like they're feeling a little self-conscious, and then they're asking me like, well, what can I do? And what is it that I'm doing wrong? I'm washing all the time. I'm not having multiple sex problems. Some people eating habits are even good. And I tell people like, you don't have to have multiple sex partners. You don't have to be a dirty person to develop vaginal bacterial vaginosis, or vaginitis, because it's also in the food that we consume. It's the products that we're using. So I would like
something
for you
that
to
may not necessarily
trigger your mind thinking that you would that will cause that. So I would like for you to touch upon to that as well with women who have that insecurity because they're experiencing or battling bacterial vaginitis or vaginosis.
I think one of the first things too is that to be really candid, we look really beautiful on the outside, right? Got our hair done, lashes, brows,
makeup, and everything.
Really great. And sometimes we really need to sit down and take a look at what we're doing, what we're consuming, what we're drinking, and really internally how we're treating ourselves, right? It's one thing. It's kind of like putting lipstick on a pig, right? So I think it's great that we are in certain positions where people are open enough to talk to us, and that we could share and say, well, I need you to talk to this person.
Right.
This is a good person. Check this out. Or sometimes it's just a book.
Right.
But one of the first things is getting regular checkups, right? Seeing our OBGYN.
Yes.
We need to do that.
Yes.
Right?
Go see those OBs, ladies.
Yes,
that is a must. Annual or 6 months. Like it's a must.
Depending on what's going on
with you.
Right. It requires, different intervals where typically, for a pap smear, we're at the point where we're at every 3 years, right? If we have normal paps previously, right? So you think about really, if you're not going every 3 years, something comes up or you're dealing with something 2 months in a row, that's a call to your OBGYN.
It's a call,
right?
definitely.
Or a women's health NP, right, or a PA, right, but
or somebody like me that calls
right?
Cynthia. Hey, Cynthia.
Or
Yeah, I got this going on. Oh God, I need your help.
Right, which is cool, right? Because either way, the point is guidance, right?
Right.
I'm dealing with something. How can you help me?
Right.
And one of the things with anything that comes up with our vaginal area is thinking about what the products are that we're using, right? Are we drinking water? Something as simple as drinking
water can change your whole life.
Levels.
Yes.
Right. Sometimes it's the partners that we have, whether it's a new partner, and sometimes really just the chemistry in with that partner that we have, right, and the exposure to their bodily fluids, right. Sometimes we have to think about our hands, right? Are we coming in and are we using unclean hands to touch that vaginal area?
Right.
Right. They're irritants. Right?
Yes.
There are some of us who don't like to, and there's no judgment in that, but I'm just saying there are some of us that don't like to wear underwear. So we need to think about where we're putting our bottoms. Right, and when we're even within our own homes,
yes,
right. So thinking about things like that, so it's not something. Oh, this thing keeps happening. Let's think about what our patterns are, what our behaviors are, and because when you also go and see that professional, remember they don't know anything unless it's things that they ask you and you tell them, right? So you have to think about and take some sort of account of what your behaviors are, so that gives us the clues, so then we could start to think about, go through clinical decision making, what is happening based on what you've told me, and obviously from my education and my experience, and for me to ultimately help you. So that's the first thing that I would tell anyone, to really, if you haven't seen anyone, you need to go for just your annual checkup. That doesn't mean that you have anything, right? Because bacterial vaginosis is not a STD, right? And some people might think that, and that's not.
It's not the case.
And then sometimes too, right? What tends to happen is if we start to experience things like that, very similar to when we're talking about vaginal rejuvenation, we may be reluctant to have those conversations with our significant other because depending on the history, right, or the past, what is he going to say? Is based on whatever experience you've had in the past, right? But you have to have these conversations, because even in a situation like that, you may not necessarily even need to say anything, right? But you do need to go and see someone. Right? And then ultimately to find out maybe that other person is the problem too. Is introducing things that may not necessarily be the best environment for your vagina. Right.
And that's a fact.
Because
other people, so I'm just going to say, like, as far as a woman's point of view with a man, men don't realize that they also consume things that can cause a pH balance in a woman when they're having sex. So it's not, so if you have a person, and there's no judgment, but a person who smokes, drinks, drugs, and it don't even necessarily mean that they have multiple sexual partners. Right. Like we can exclude that out of the topic, but that is still bad health or poor choices when we're going with someone else and then having sex with that person, because now you're putting that into me, and now I'm having a reaction from that, and then now I'm uncomfortable because I can't walk around not knowing if I'm smelling or if somebody else can smell me.
Yeah, because you become self-conscious.
Exactly, because like I said, the people that come and lay on the bed is like they don't even want to open their legs because they know that they have something going on, and they know they showered, but still it's overpowering. And it's like, I always try to make my clients comfortable. Even if I do smell something, I'm never gonna be like, girl, you gotta go wash. Like, like, no, because that is a sensitive topic. It's not always because of a person is not clean or whatever the case may be. So I just wanted you to, like, let people know that it doesn't necessarily mean that you're dirty.
No, absolutely not.
So,
Yeah, but the best, the first thing I would always say to do is to go ahead, if you haven't had a checkup in some time, that to really schedule an appointment with your either OB, women's health professional, to get checked out. Just get labs.
And even if you are having multiple sex partners, that's more of enough reason to go and get checked up more than just 3 years or more than just a year. Like, you want to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, because
and hopefully protecting yourself.
And protecting yourself,
totally
exactly.
honest, I'm not here to tell people to abstain or to, when they should have intercourse with people. But you have to protect yourself, right? And sometimes the other thing I remember many years ago, this is even before I even thought about, becoming a healthcare professional, and, having a friend or friends where it wasn't necessarily you're using protection, right? But then thinking about, well, if someone, exposes you or, performs, right, we're going to say fellatio, right? Right?
Fellatio!
Right? And then ultimately, right, let's just say they have a canker sore that you don't know about, right? They are now exposing your vaginal region, right, and vice versa, right, to herpes, right. So sometimes it's not just wearing a condom, right. It's other things. It's like there are other ways that
because condoms does not protect you from encountering herpes. Let's just put that out there, because I know a lot of people do not know that. Like, they really don't know that. A lot of people think that just wearing a condom is no, and it's not even just from oral sex. That's contact. So if a person has an outbreak and open sores or something like that, and is active and they're having sex, whether you have a condom on or not, you're being exposed because of that contact. So you also have to be mindful of that. And it's been
comfortable to look at someone.
Yes, look at and see and be like, oh no. This person, you got bumps? I'm out of here. Like, or if you choose to go, just know that you're taking that risk. But that's why it's good to be comfortable to look and examine something before you actually jump right into it. And I was saying, it's been 3 to 4 years since I've been in the healthcare field. But before I became an esthetician, I was working in OB. And you wouldn't believe the amount of people that is diagnosed with herpes. Like, I couldn't believe it was like a common cold. And some people don't even know because it's dormant in their body and they haven't had an outbreak. So they don't even know. So if you're not testing, and you're not gonna be tested for it unless you specifically ask for that. They don't ask for that for STD. You have to ask for that, right? Because it doesn't just come up.
It depends on if your primary care provider. Typically, that's not part of a general health visit, right? But if someone comes in, like if someone has a concern or they have symptoms where I discuss it with them, hey, we're gonna check this a whole series or panel, then yes, that would be one of the things that we would test for. But that's not part of your general health. It's not part
of the general health panel. So you want to either know, and I want to talk about, like, say something about 10 years ago. I want to say, when was it when like MRSA was out? Like, not out, but it was like a chronic thing with like MRSA. 2015, because I remember just as I was getting prepared, to enter the second career and going to school, that I was working in the ER as a healthcare tech at the time, and how many times we had to swab people to rule it out. Right. But it was so funny because I'll never forget, one of the doctors was like, if you haven't been tested for it, don't, because I guess if you do, it's
you swab someone in the nares and that we're carrying it in our nostrils.
It's crazy. Crazy.
And just, again, things that we don't know. So one of the things I want to speak to this, that I think, like, health education, it's amazing, right? Which is, I think it's great that we get like PE and health when we're in middle school. But it's one of those things that kind of like when we're doing like trigonometry and stuff like that in high school, right? If you never use it again, or you don't go into a profession that's something that you use, it's not something that you think about. Right. And I feel that way about health, right? And health education, because it's something, we talk about just so we know the basic function of our bodies, right? But in middle school, and then once you go into high school, you know, the focus is, wide and varied, right? That really should be something that's also reintroduced in high school. And if someone continues to higher education, right, it should be brought up, because I have seen, and again, this is without any judgment, adults who do not know what the various parts of their body is, what it's called, where certain things are located, or even for us as women, right, knowing that we have, or just believing that it's only two holes, right? Yes, I was just about to say that. Yes. So, things like that, and just not, but again, it's education. If that's not something that you need to know about, or really that comes on your radar, you may not necessarily pursue that, right? Exactly. Or, with the advent of Google, with everything being at your fingertips, you could look up something very specific, and that's pretty much it.
So when I was in nursing school, I'm sorry, I had to laugh about this because when I was in nursing school, they were talking about the holes, right? It was we were doing catheters.
Yeah.
And I was like baffled that there wasn't just two.
And that's real, right?
I know, but it was just so weird. And I'm like, so I go, I'm laughing because I went home and I had the mirror and I'm literally opening it up and trying to examine myself like, 3 holes? Like, why never? I was deceived all this time. And nursing school, I was about 21, I want to say, 22 maybe, I think, when I was in nursing school, and finding that out. So I can imagine how many people are out there not realizing how the anatomy, the exact anatomy of their body.
I mean, I've had individuals, adults, again, right, who they'll have, some bleeding. They'll come in while I'm bleeding, and it's just like, I'm testing them or asking questions surrounding a urinary tract infection, and then not necessarily knowing that, where you're urinating from is not the same as where your vaginal opening is. Right. And it's okay, but it's one of those things, if we don't talk about it, or, I don't even know how in depth that's even discussed in middle school, right?
I don't think
so.
It is.
I don't even know. Even if it's really appropriate during that time, at that stage, but those are the things that we need to talk about. Because again, we're out here and we're exposing ourselves to different people, all sorts of tools and products, right? And that's just something that I just wanted to put that out there. That,
seriously.
Health education really should be something that we introduce or reintroduce later beyond
middle school, high school, and even in college, depending, and I know it gets more in depth when you turn into the health field. That's when you really get all the experience because you have to know that. But like you said, it's definitely not enough education out there because a lot of people don't even know some people don't even know the difference between orgasms and climaxing, and those are two different things. But I also want to get into the other services that you do, Botox as well, right?
Yes. So I introduced
and lip fillers,
Botox or cosmetic injectables, right, which includes Botox. So when we talk about Botox, because Botox, has the notoriety, right? It's been out the longest. So even if it's not necessarily Botox, and it could be Jeuveau, Dysport, Xeomin, but when we say Botox, we know that we're talking about that toxin that freezes your muscles or reduces movement in your muscles.
And which is tightening of the skin.
Yes.
So some people that don't know. Yeah.
Amazing stuff, right? So it reduces the amount of movement that you have and reduces wrinkles, as well as it changes the texture of your skin.
Okay.
Botox is also used
medically.
Mainly it's Botox, right? Used medically for other reasons. For individuals who do have stress incontinence, like when it's really chronic, and it helps to paralyze or stop with the spasms, right? Or that leaking that women experience, so they don't have that urine leakage for migraines.
I was going to say, do they still use it for migraines?
Yeah, and I actually offer it for migraines as well. For acne, right? For overproduction of
sweat glands,
of oil, right? Even like for individuals who have cystic acne, but then also for the sweat glands, hyperhidrosis under the arms, the palm area, and under the feet, and then of course just for beauty reasons, right?
Yes, cosmetically,
right? The fillers, that's been amazing to introduce to the practice too, because who doesn't want fillers, right? Lip fillers,
right?
In most cases we don't necessarily need them, but sometimes it's just really, when we're talking about people of color, sometimes we just need it just to even out one side versus the other,
right?
To slenderize a face, right? You can put it in the chin, in the cheeks. And one of the things for me, because we do know that there are other communities that's been doing this for a long time, right? And they just know it. It's a staple in their community. But I have found the myth that in our community that we think that you have to be old to start receiving these services. And one of the things that, which, we tend to hear that, like things like black don't crack, which we do. Right. It takes us a little bit longer for that to happen. Right. But
that's because we have all that melanin.
Yes. And I mean, and again, and some of us, that's not saying that any of us have to get it, but just if we're basing those decisions on these myths, it's not true, right? Because we do develop wrinkles as well. We do have sagging and things like that, right? So fillers and Botox could help with that. The other thing is when we start younger, and we're not starting at doses that are high, right? But when we're starting younger, we're reducing how much of that wrinkling. So imagine we're already on the, far end of that spectrum when we start to develop. Right? So imagine when you're talking about maintaining that youthful appearance, right? Starting a little bit younger, right? So we minimize the development of those wrinkles. But the other thing too is I think when we look at, especially when we're looking at celebrities or those people that are really extreme, that is what stays in your mind, right?
Yes.
So you'll hear, like I have someone who's a friend of mine, and I mentioned it to her, and she was like, oh no, I'm not doing that. But I could tell by the way she responded was because that's what she thinks.
That's what she think it is.
That's her thought process. And, my job is not to convince anyone. It's if they bring up a concern or if I see something, then I can bring it up and say, here are the things that I can enhance with this. And, what can be done with these fillers is amazing. And I'm totally comfortable with referring out, especially if people want to come and see me for things that don't look natural. I don't necessarily want to be
a part of that.
But then, I want to enhance what you have, and then really for it to look natural, right? Which has been a little bit of a problem, right? Because some of my clients are not telling people, right? Which is great, right? But it's all about they just love the fact that people are telling them that they look refreshed, right? What you've been doing. But that's okay. That's all right. I've had some of my clients say, well, I don't want to tell anyone because if that's the case, I don't want to have to fight anyone to book an appointment with you. I'm like, what?
I hear that all the time. People literally be like, I want to tell people, but I don't want to be able to not have an appointment. And I'm like, bitch, if you don't get my name out there, that's why I have a booking.
You're so happy with your results. Like, please share. Right? Why would we want the next person to our left and to our right?
Exactly. To experience it
but
too.
It has been amazing. It really has. And just and that's why my handle is a holistic approach to health and wellness, because it's so many facets, right, and aspects to health and wellness. When we're talking about your overall health, right, chronic disease management. For individuals who have diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol, how do we manage that? How do we get that under control and get you to be the best version of you as possible? Right? And then for some of us to avoid entering that, that group or that category of individuals where you don't develop, diabetes, high blood pressure. So that's where the medical weight loss program comes in. And that's been really successful.
It has. And a lot of people don't know about it. And I have been actually telling a lot of people about that. The semaglutide, yes. For those who are struggling with weight loss or having issues or keeping up with it, I always tell them, like, listen, hit my girl Cynthia up because she's going to have something for you. I don't know everything that she does, but I know a lot of things that she does. And
you have been really great.
My personal experience, I'm going to shout Cynthia out because I could call Cynthia, text Cynthia, pop up at her spa, and I'm like, listen, can you help me with that? Oh, and sometimes she goes, girl, what are you, it was like a year ago, I think it was, when we first met. I literally walked into her spot. I was like, knock, 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 because Dawn had told me about you. And, okay, so let me run it back really quickly. I was turning 40. It was about to be my 40th birthday. So I'm like, I'm sitting in Dawn's chair. Dawn, y'all, is my hairstylist. So I'm like, she's amazing. She is amazing. Yes, exactly. I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm turning 40. I just want to make sure I look good, feel good. So we talking in the chair. This is before I knew Cynthia. Next thing you know, I don't know how Botox came up, but I was like, bitch, you think I need some Botox? Because I want to be like, and doing all of this. So she was like, oh, Cynthia lady, I think her name is Cynthia down there. She does da, 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 da. So I'm like, really? I literally hopped out of Dawn's chair, went down to Cynthia, was like, knock, knock, knock. Hey, I know you don't know me, but Dawn told me about you. And I was like, I need some Botox. And you was like, okay, wait a minute. Because I I was like full force with it. I was like, listen.
And then my response initially was, you're beautiful.
Yes.
Right? What are your areas of concern?
Yes.
Because I always start with that, because sometimes what we think we need to is not necessarily what is right for us at that time.
And that's why I respect you, because literally on a serious note, you could have been like, okay, well, come in, book, let me do you. You literally was like, okay, why do you feel as if you need it? What areas are you looking? What are you trying to get out of it? And you know that if you do this, eventually you're going to have to come back if you want to keep that same image or whatever the case may be. And you literally sat down with me and explained to me. And I ended up not even getting the Botox. I didn't even get it because I was just like, oh, you know what? She's right. Yeah. But you could have just took my money and been like, here, okay, here's your Botox. It's this much, and sent me on my way. Yeah. And it was something that, so I really appreciate you for that. As well as many other things that come up after that, because I swear you would think Cynthia is like my actual like OB person, and she's not. But I'm calling on anything. So I know if you guys follow me, y'all seen I did a quick journey when I was experiencing issue with my breast, and I thought like I felt the lump. Or I didn't even feel a lump. I had pain. And then I'm 40, so it was time for me to get the breast exam done. Also, I know you guys that know me know that one of my good friends passed away from breast cancer early on this year. So I was really like nervous about having to get the mammogram done. So I go and get the mammogram done, y'all, and I'm scared as shit. Just because I was feeling pain in my breast, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing self-exams. I'm like, do I feel anything? Sometimes you think you feel something and you don't, because it's just your mind playing tricks on you. So I go and get the mammogram done, and then they call me back. That my whole life crashed, because I'm like, oh God, they calling me back. They want to do further testing. I call Cynthia. I'm like, Cynthia, they told me they want to get a second opinion, and she's like, and I'm crying like
and
I'm
you
going.
Said, well, because I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing that.
I was like, well, more than likely that that you're going to need a biopsy.
First, you said it needed, and I was like, I'm not getting no biopsy. You was like, wait, Aisha, what do you mean you're not getting a biopsy?
That's why you find out. That's why you want to know. Right, these things, right? So you know ahead of time, right?
You know, yes. She literally on the phone talked me down, y'all, because I almost had a heart attack, like on this phone. She's like, it might not even be anything. It might that they just need to do further testing. And God behold, it was because they had to do further testing, and it wasn't even, it wasn't even my breast. It was the area between my armpit and my breast. So they saw two lymph nodes, and it was sitting on top of each other, which they thought that it was a large lymph node, nodule there, and that's when they would have done a biopsy or wanted further testing, but it wasn't that. They noticed that it was two, and not one.
Aisha sent me the whole report, and I was just like, all right, let's talk through this, right? Which is great, right? Because we should have that, right? Yeah, we should have. Where we have concerns about anything in our lives, that someone that we can talk to, or someone that could refer you to someone, or say, hey, or someone who had this experience. Because actually, when we talked about the mammogram, I was about to go have my mammogram done, and I hadn't had mine in several years, just with everything that's been happening with COVID, and then even right before then, finishing up NP school and all that. So just life was happening, and I knew that it was time, and I scheduled, and I had gone into, while you were getting your hair done, into the suite, and we talked about it, and then you were like, I'm going to go ahead and get and schedule, right? And then I think I saw you afterwards, like I said, I saw you again, and I was just, I got mine done, and then you were going to get yours done, and then just, stay, because you also shared the story about your friend. Yes. And it's like, yes, I want to, keep up with my girls, with my friends, right? Or with my sisters, to say, hey, this is the follow. Did you follow up? Right. We should care about each other that way. No, right? Seriously. And it's just like, and those fears that we don't know that we have, to be able to have those conversations, so we could help support somebody else. Yeah, like, exactly. If I needed to come with you too, because I did say, and that's what she did say. Yep, she was like, "I will come with you. I will hold your hand. I will be there for you. But you're gonna do it. You're not gonna do this. You're not gonna go and get this done." And I was like, okay, and I'm like, oh my gosh, but I really want to say thank you for that, because you definitely helped me with that, because I was
a nutcase.
And imagine going through that alone or not having that support. And that's what we need, and that's what we should be for each other. And
it's a sisterhood.
It is. It really, really is. When we're talking about things like real estate, right? When we're talking about, because I know that your next guest, that's one of the things that you're going to talk about as well. But when we're talking about even like with facials, right? Or if it's something that is your expertise, to know that we could pass that information on so you can go and talk to that specific individual. And things like when I hear, as much as I love my patients and my clients, that, you know, to don't think about it as someone potentially taking your spot or your appointment. You could be really helping somebody out.
Yes.
Like really, and sometimes we think that it's like, you know, it doesn't have to be something so critical where it's, you know, getting your mammogram or getting a colonoscopy. It could be someone's mental health. They are so unhappy with something about themselves that it's really their mental health.
Yes.
It could be a very simple,
easy fix. A lot of people don't realize, as a healthcare provider, as a esthetician, as a hairstylist, we are therapists.
Yeah, you hear
like, because you hear so much. Literally, the 15 minutes that I have someone on my bed, I know so much about that person or what they're going on, because they confide in me and they know that possibly if they don't want to, that they don't have to see me again. So they just let everything out. And they could go on about their business. And so that's why you sometimes have to listen to people. And I literally sit and let people vent on my bed. I don't talk. That's my area to not talk. I give feedback. I, you know, may say a couple things, but it's never like me overpowering the conversation. I'm always letting that person talk, because like you said, you never know what a person is going through. But I want to wrap this up. And I want you to make sure you give people your handle, how they can reach out to you, find you, and get in contact with you.
So my website is www.fluidhydrationandwellness.com.
Okay.
So that's where you can find my services. Also, you can book through there.
Okay.
As well as Fluid Hydration and Wellness. That's actually my IG handle.
Okay.
And I'm also on Facebook, and that's FHW. And that's where you can find me.
That's where you can find you. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for coming on. You are welcome.
Yes, I enjoy talking about this. And
yes.
opening the forum for us to have these types of discussions.
Yes, because we need that. And it is very important. And we need that. I mean, I know I joke around and I laugh and I cattle all the time, but there is this is a time where you need to be serious and let people know and make them aware of their health, mental health, overall body health, whatever the case may be, and that it is okay to reach out to someone and have these conversations with them if you to feel comfortable with a person such as yourself and your.
And sometimes
your
we don't think that it's affordable. We spend way more money on our clothes than some of these services out here. And I'm not even talking about like Botox and other fillers and injectables. I'm talking about like things like, if we're talking about vaginal rejuvenation, something that comes up, if it's on a weekly basis that you're intimate with someone, that's going to continue to come up. But we've spent or gone to many dinners many times over. And
many parties, spending money on bottles in the club or whatever the case may be. So you can actually take the time and set that for yourself. But so yes, thank you so much for coming out. I appreciate it. Make sure you guys hit Cynthia up at fluidhydrationwellness.com
and
wellness.com. And also the IG handle is Fluid Hydration and Wellness on IG. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I know I enjoyed it.
These niggas be mugging they so hard. If I empty the clip, they'll soften up. Little boy, I don't know y'all. Little boy, I don't know y'all. My pants just had me tripping, so I tied up my shoelace. Bitch, I came a long way. You niggas don't know me.
Thank you guys for tuning in again on episode 3 at the Zen Room. I appreciate you guys. Remember to tune in on Thursday, 7 p.m. Make sure you guys hit me up on IG at the Zen Room. Also, you can book and schedule your facial and waxing services at thezenroom.com. And I'll see you guys next week.